I will call the meeting of the Upshur County Commission order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. We will begin at 9:15 with our first presentation. Prior to that, we'll take care of some items for discussion, action, approval. The first, the minutes, yes. Okay. I'm just anxious to get this.
Keep the ship moving.
That's right. We had a good start.
We gotta go to the past momentarily.
County Commission of Upshur County, West Virginia, held a regular meeting in the Courthouse Annex on Thursday, August 7, 2014 at 9 a.m. J.C. Rafferty called the meeting to order. There were present J.C. Rafferty, Commissioner, Donnie Tenney, Commissioner, Troy Brady, Commissioner, Kelly Cunningham, County Administrator, Kelly Wallace, Assistant County Administrator, and Tony Newman, Secretary. The meeting began with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All motions passed unanimously unless otherwise stated. After reading of the minutes on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the Commission approved the regular meeting minutes of July 24, 2014 as submitted. At 9:15 a.m., Laura Meadows, Executive Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, appeared before the Commission and provided the Convention and Visitors Bureau annual report. The Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau will support and promote Upshur County and the North Central West Virginia region as an easily accessible destination for rural, small-town American tourism. Ms. Meadows advised there are 3 major advertising campaigns, each with a dedicated website. Also, the Convention and Visitors Bureau is active on social media. After discussion on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved the request for a donation of $2,000 to the Lewis Upshur Local Emergency Planning Committee as designated in the budget. After discussion on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved the request for usage of the Upshur County swimming pool by the West Virginia Wesleyan College swim team for August 25th through September 19th, 2014, with the stipulation that the swim team agreed to assume the prorated cost for the operation of the pool, estimated at $5,180. After discussion on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign the contract for the Sutter roofing quote for the replacement of the chiller roof for the Courthouse Annex at the sum of $9,790, as well as a $740 fee for a 20-year warranty as recommended by Carrie Wallace. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign the Justice Assistant Grant and related documents, project number 14-JAG-07 in the amount of $20,000. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign the Community Corrections Grant and related documents, project number 15-CC-15 in the amount of $204,676. At 9:30 a.m., Mindy Mall and Craig Prestar, WVU Extension Office, appeared before the Commission and provided information regarding the Nutrition Outreach Program, which focuses on food, nutrition, and physical activity behaviors of limited resource families, youths, and adults. Mr. Prestar introduced Mindy Mall as the program instructor for Upshur County. Ms. Mall will be working with students in grades 3 through 5, providing information and activities related to nutrition and exercise. In the summertime, courses will be offered to adults regarding how to effectively manage food dollars to provide nutritious meals to their families. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the Commission approved and authorized the Commission to sign the number of election officials and election commissioners form for the November 4th, 2014 general election. After discussion on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign the number of sets of emergency absentee voting commissioners form for the November 4th, 2014 general election. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the commission approved the employment of Tony Newman as part-time temporary fire fee clerk effective August 11, 2014, as requested by Chief Tax Deputy Sheila Adams at the rate of $10.50 per hour for 19 and a half hours per week, not to exceed 120 days, and to be reimbursed in its entirety by the Upshur County Fire Board. After discussion on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the commission approved the resignation of Mike Miller, Animal Control Officer, effective July 31st, 2014. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the commission approved a job posting for a full-time animal control officer. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by Donnie Tenney, the commission approved the resignation of James Kennedy, Deputy Sheriff, effective August 17, 2014. J.C. Rafferty reviewed the following for your information items. Correspondence from Robert Pennington, West Virginia Division of Highways, Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, comment deadline August 6, 2014. Correspondence from Glenn Gaynor, State Auditor, training seminar for County Commission and staff. Correspondence from Russell Rollison, Deputy State Auditor, Upshur County notice of auction of delinquent and non-entered liens. Correspondence from Earl Ray Tomlin, Governor, approval of Community Corrections Grant, project number 15-CC-15 in the amount of $204,676. Correspondence from Debbie Legg, Community Development Division, Community Participation Grants, 13 LEDA 0237 and 13 LEDA 0714, final time extensions. Upshur County CAT Report, June 2014, building permits, July 2014. Agendas and notices of meetings as listed, meeting minutes as listed, meetings as listed, appointments needed or upcoming as listed. The commission approved all invoices for payment. The commission approved all vacation orders. The commission approved the following settlements as listed. The commission approved the following exonerations and or refunds as listed. The commission approved the following requests to attend meeting as listed. With no further business, on motion by Donnie Tenney, seconded by Troy Brady, the commission adjourned at 12 p.m.
Thank you very much. Any corrections or additions to the minutes as read? If not, I would request a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you again. It's now 9:10. We have a few minutes to go for our first appointment. We first on the agenda have a reappointment of Elkins Road PSD Board of Directors member Larry Heater, term beginning October 1st, 2014 and ending September 30, 2020. And that's a recommendation from the board of that Public Service District. A motion to approve Mr. Heater for a term.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, a request for a biannual joint session of the Upshur County Commission and the Buchanan City Council, allowing local students, I presume at West Virginia Wesleyan College and at the public schools as well, to the opportunity to suggest improvements to the county and to the city. Dr. Reed has requested that and agreed to meet further to discuss his ideas relative to that recommendation. So I would recommend that we hold that in abeyance until we can have an opportunity with Dr. Reed to discuss his proposal. Is that in concurrence with the other commissioners?
Yeah, because we used to meet quarterly with the city, and that hasn't happened for a while. So maybe this is something that could be incorporated in and have it twice a year at least. And I think this is a good idea. If Dr. Reed comes in and has a discussion with us and has a discussion with the city, and maybe with the folks from the Board of Education and get everybody invested, everybody on board, and then kind of set up a framework of what we want to try to accomplish. I think it would be a good thing.
Very good. Okay, moving on, we have a employment of part-time temporary fire fee clerk, Karen Simmons, effective August 18, at the rate of $10.50 per hour for 19.5 hours per week. The salary to be totally reimbursed by the Upshur County Fire Fee Board. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I I'll second it, but just for clarity, so this will be 2 part-time, and then we also have someone else help us that's paid out of the fire, or the concealed weapons.
Correct. That's right.
That's correct. Wendy Best is paid out.
And then this is just to fill in until. I'll second it. I just want to get some clarity.
Okay, thank you, Don. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have three resignations, Linda Harris, Aaron Harris, and Nickel Brown from the Tri-County Child Exchange Monitor, all effective July 24, 2014. I made inquiry of that, why 3 people would be leaving at the same time, and my understanding is they obtained employment that provides better wages as well as possibly some benefits. So I would ask for a motion to approve the resignation of those 3 individuals.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have employment of Barbara Smar as a Tri-County Child Exchange Monitor, effective August 15, 2014.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It's now 9:15, and we have Stephanie Millian, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, to brief for the Commission to relay information regarding an agreed order and settlement of Coal Quest Development Board, a review and equalization fee.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Of course, I appear this morning on behalf of Mr. Rieger. I'm in his capacity as counsel for the Upshur County Commission. Upshur County Commission and others were named as respondents in the Coal Quest Development's petition for appeal from erroneous assessment. We wanted the opportunity to provide you all this morning with an update regarding this matter. Gentlemen will recall that the issue in this matter involves the tax assessment of 15 parcels, referred to in this proceeding as an imperial mine holding. Tax assessor values or assess those parcels using the active mine property calculation. Petitioner Coal Quest Development argues instead that they should have been valued as reserve property. After much research and negotiation, parties have been provided with an agreed order in settlement of the appeal. As the commissioners are aware, tax matters are a very technical matter, and we have relied on the tax division to inform our analysis and recommendation to the commissioners in this matter. I received correspondence from counsel in the tax division in the Attorney General's office that reviewed the settlement offer and said to me in letter, the tax department agrees with the order as written. The tax department has verified that the assessed values are correct. Basically, what the settlement does, the settlement offers, it seeks a compromise at a halfway point between the assessed values provided by both parties. Of course, as I said, the tax commissioner assessed the properties at the active mining, respondents at the reserve, and the compromise to settlement is exactly in between, at the halfway point. So we believe that that is a fair and just offer. Obviously, the tax division, tax commissioner was named as a respondent as well. They are in agreement and have in fact already executed the agreed order. So we're asking them today, advising the commission to give Mr. Rieger the go-ahead to also sign and execute the settlement order on the commission's behalf. As I said, we feel that it's a good offer and would certainly leave the county in a better position with this than in the event that the appeal goes forward and the petitioner prevails.
In other words, you're saying we would have to incur additional legal expenses
Absolutely,
to
plus
prevail,
the loss.
and the risk of not having the case decided in favor of the county
Correct.
would outweigh the cost.
What's the, do we have the dollar amount on the impact? As I recall at that hearing, the difference was that
regarding the active versus the reserve coal, and what portion of the mine, after it was idle, was reserve coal, not considered active. The mine had been assessed July 1st, like
Right.
the law requires, but they had idled it in September.
Right.
And therefore.
Right, and the issue really was an interpretation of the statute that defines the tax year.
Right.
And as I say, much research by both parties on negotiations, that's,
Well, we relied on the state tax department argument at the time of the hearing, and what you're saying is that that department has reconsidered their argument
apparently so.
and making the recommendation that we
Absolutely.
accept that compromise.
Yes.
Well, we took their recommendation when they were here, and the coal company certainly made a good argument, and it was all about the timing.
Exactly.
When the assessment was, and whether it was actively fine at that particular time or whether it was reserved.
Okay, and shut down.
And so, yeah, it's better to, because if the state tax department has agreed, that basically the coal company's right. It's better to get 67,000 than a few thousand, you know.
It undercuts your argument in any way.
Absolutely.
That's right, that's right.
It gives pause to go forward.
That's exactly right.
So we think that it's a good offer, and that's why Mr. Rieger is advising
Right.
that you all permit him to execute it on your behalf, and with his signature. And I'd like to say, of course, the counsel for the tax commissioner has already executed it. The petitioner counsel has already executed it. So with Mr. Rieger's signature and Ms. Phillips, who was also a named respondent, the order could be filed and the matter resolved, should the judge so order.
Is there any further discussion from the other commissioners?
I move we approve.
Second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you, Stephanie.
Sorry to start your day with such an exciting tax time.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Okay,
You too.
continuing the agenda. We have employment of Juanita Andrew as full-time custodial staff member, currently part-time custodial staff member, as per our discussion during formulation of the fiscal year 14-15 budget hearing. It's employment will be effective August 15th at the current wage rate of $8 per hour. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, we have an item to approve the termination of employment for Tabitha Creemans, part-time custodial staff member, effective August 14, 2014, per executive session. Do I have a motion to recess to executive session for personnel
So moved.
matters?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll now recess to executive session. And we have exited executive session. We are now going into our regular business meeting. No decisions were made. I will reiterate the item on our agenda, termination of employment for Tabitha Creemans, part-time custodial staff member, effective August 14, 2014.
So moved.
Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. I would like to note that item number 8, which deals with employment of Juanita Andrew as full-time custodial staff member, and the termination of employment for Tabitha Creemans are not in any way related. They are separate items on the agenda, and I want that to be noted. Okay, next we have a recess again to discuss personal issues in a executive session per West Virginia Code 6-98-4. Have a motion to go into executive session. Discuss personal matters. We're doing that now? Okay, I see. Sorry about
You
that.
scared us, Jason.
Well, I was reading the next paragraph down, which, okay, the way in which the things are forth. Okay, I stand corrected. Letters of interest for James W. Curry Library Advisory Board regarding a board vacancy to be filled. We have 2 individuals, a Brother Lewis Eskew and a Paula McGrew, have both applied. and expressed interest in his appointment to that library board, that is the Curry Library Board. I would recommend that we take this matter under advisement, refer it to the county administrator for review, and ultimately a recommendation to the commission as to who the appointment should be. Do I have any comments on that or any other thoughts on that?
That's fine.
I concur with that.
Moving then to item number 13, need approval for depository bonds of First Community Bank, July 1 through 2014 through June 30, 2015. And basically, they received money from the county, and this is a bond to ensure that the monies located in the bank are protected for the county.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, our next item for business is at 11 o'clock, we will have an interview under an executive session on a personnel issue. And the next thing we have here is correspondence from Robert Pennington, West Virginia Division of Highways, statewide transportation improvement program, which basically announces a public comment period ending September 9, 2014 for state transportation improvement program funding. We also have correspondence from Mary Jo Thompson, West Virginia Development Office, invitation to submit applications for fiscal year 2014 Land and Water Conservation Fund. And we have correspondence from Gregory Myers, Acting Public Assistant Officer, closing of the FEMA projects. And this related to the derecho we had, I think it was 2 years ago. And the FEMA now has moving to close out their awards or funding for that program. And we must maintain records of the funding and related paperwork for a period of 3 years. And we have correspondence from Jake Rieger, Upshur County Prosecuting Attorney, regarding the annual accounting of the asset forfeiture account July 1, 2013 through June 30, 2014. And that basically is running total each month during the fiscal year of monies in that particular account. And it's pretty consistent, 1882, 86, the last 9 or 10, 12 months.
Makes it easy record.
It does indeed. And I believe that we have notices of agendas, meetings, and board appointments. Any further discussion before we start paying our bills? Commissioner?
Now, I would just like to make note that the Sylvansville Youth Camp are selling raffle tickets, which benefits the youth camp up there. So if anybody would like to support the youth camp at Sylvansville, they can get a hold of Thanon Wentz, Greg Woody, Debbie Miller, whatever, and buy a raffle ticket. And if they do, I hope they win.
That's for firearms, right?
That's for firearms.
Someone told me you could never have enough weapons.
Never had one?
Never have enough weapons, especially today's. Okay, with that, we'll start taking care of our bills. We are continuing our session with Dr. Reed, who is going to discuss an issue that he's requested consideration before the commission. He is here to discuss that issue with the commission. Dr. Reed.
Thank you, sir. This is my son, Jonathan, who is here from Frisco, Texas, fastest growing city in the United States, I understand. Anyway.
Is that because of Lego people or?
Just lots of building.
Or is it diminished because he's left and now it might not be...
I thought maybe it was growing because of the illegal immigrants, but if it's legitimate, right. Go ahead, Doc. Digress.
Recently, we had a conference in Buchanan at Wesleyan called Try This, with over 400 people from all over the state talking about their ideas and thoughts of things that might work. And there were 4 of us that met at the end from Upshur County, Idris Gooden and her husband Dave, and Joyce Thacker, Harris Thacker, and myself. We came up with the suggestion that continuation of the joint city council and county commission meetings was a good idea. And one of the opportunities was to invite student representatives from high school and college to present ideas from those bodies from the student bodies that might be helpful to Upshur County and to Buchanan. The ideas were to involve the youth in general and in community efforts, and to promote intergovernmental cooperation and to hear the concerns of the young people from our community, thinking that they are our potential leaders, and this is part of the opportunity to help train them. Since that time, I have communicated with Dr. Balch from the college and from Roy Wager from the high school, and they have shed their support and willingness to work with this opportunity that's presented. They've also presented the idea to the Chamber of Commerce and to the Convention Bureau, who are supportive of the thought and idea. I think that your acceptance of the idea would be necessary. The subject will be on the City Council agenda for the 21st. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be there, but hopefully one of the others will be able to be there and present. I'd be happy to answer any questions. It's very preliminary at this point, exactly how it will work. I'm thinking that 2 or 3 people each time, 5 to 7 months presentation, something that's guided, approved, and prepared ahead of time by the students with the help of faculty support from the institutions would be the appropriate thing. It was more representative of the student bodies rather than just individual thoughts and presentations.
Well, prior to your appearance presently, this issue had been discussed in the session, and Commissioner Tenney had some observations concerning this matter, which I think are cogent to a resolution. The end result was we were going to discuss it with you, but since you appeared today and had an opportunity to make the presentation, you anticipated or maybe heard that we had made that decision to hold off on making a decision until we had a chance to have personal input from you. So if you...
Well, I think it's a great idea. The more input you can get from different groups, whether it's the youth or whoever it might be, that can give ideas, great ideas, thoughts to not only government. I mean, I think that what would be good, and I do know that on occasion there are West End students at the city council meeting. I know it's held in the evening, and that might make it a little bit more available. But we would certainly welcome 2 or 3 times a year if either high school students or West End students would want to come here and bring ideas to us. I mean, we've always been, 18 years I've been on the commission, we've been an open commission. We've always welcomed any ideas or thoughts that folks had, whether we would agree with them or disagree with them. We've certainly made that bully pulpit there open to the public of anything that people wanted to bring to us. And I think it's a great idea. The other thing that I think would be good, and I don't know if there's been discussion of like the CVB and the Chamber of Commerce and some of these other organizations, that they actually have positions for youth on those boards. I think that would be great, because that would give the opportunity in a lot of different areas for youth to give their input, because youth might have a thought for the Development Authority that us old folks don't even think about, or the CVB, or Westland students might have an idea for the CVB to promote that Westland could be involved in. So I think the more that the youth are involved, as much as possible, because I know there was the program that youth were involved. It was I don't know if you were involved with that, but wasn't your granddaughter involved in that, where the youth that went through was it like
civics class?
Civics,
yes.
Right, and they came to the commission meeting, and I think it was very enlightening for them. And another thing that you might help us with, that's been instituted 2 or 3 years, but here in Upshur County we've not been as involved, and I'm hoping we can, is the West Virginia County Commission Association has an essay contest that targets, I forget the grade. Eighth graders, okay, the eighth graders, and we need some folks to go into the schools, and basically it's to get them to understand a little bit more about county government, and especially the county commission. Now, I know at our meeting we had a week or so ago in Huntington, the commissioner from Mon County said what they did, they invited students to their meeting, and they let a student come up and sit beside each county commissioner. And they actually had a regular meeting, and they would let those students be involved in that process. And he was kind of joking. He said, you know, the sheriff came up and he wanted something, you know, to hire another deputy or 2 or 3 or do something. And so one student sat beside him, he said, just say, I'll move we deny your request. And he was kind of pleased that he could tell the sheriff that they were going to deny his request. But what it does is it gets them involved directly in government and lets them, you know, they say, we understand what we read, and then we a little more what we hear. We understand most what we see and experience. And I think the more that the youth can experience what life's all about, and in this case in government, and in the function of government as far as providing services and quality of life to the community, I think it's a great thing. And I think that the more they can get involved in different aspects, I think it's going to be the better, not only for those youth, but for the organizations and for the county as a whole. And I think if they could get involved, I don't know to what extent they can get involved, but if they could come to the county commission meeting and sit through a meeting and see how we operate, bring some things to us, go to a city council meeting, do the same thing there. Then when we have the city-county meeting, they're going to understand a little bit better of the function between the city and the county, and how, you know, to some people it seems like the county and the city doesn't get along. Well, part of that is because the city has certain responsibilities and functions and authority, and the county has certain, and it's just because of the dynamics of the two. And we have a responsibility, certain responsibilities that's been given to us, and the city has certain responsibilities. And sometimes those two different responsibilities create issues. And it's just like the situation with the county commission and all the other elected officials in the courthouse. They have certain responsibilities, and we have certain responsibilities. And sometimes, because the county commission is given the responsibility, the fiscal authority of the county, sometimes that creates issues with other elected officials. And as someone said in the past, the way county government is set up in West Virginia, you couldn't create a worse system for elected officials to get along. It's just the dynamics, the way it's set up. Just that system, the way it's set up, within itself creates issues that you have to deal with. And you have to work through those problems, and that's just part of life, is working through those and trying to get together and work together where you can, and then just agree to disagree where you can. And that's the same way with the county and the city. And I think that over my 18 years, we've had a good working relationship with the city, and we've dealt with a lot of different issues, and some things we've disagreed on, some things we've agreed on, and that's just the way life is. But you know, I think that the more we get youth involved, the more we get involved in the reality of government, so they understand exactly how it works and why it works the way it does, I think everybody benefits.
The Leadership Academy we had several years ago, 2 years, was a very good thing for those who were involved. There were some young people involved in that. But am I hearing you suggest that it would be better to present separately to the county commission and to the city council rather than the joint session?
I just think that it would be a good beginning for them to understand how the county commission operates.
Come and see.
And come and stay, come here, present your idea directly, anything that's directly to the county commission. So then we can discuss that, go to the city council, And I think what that's going to do is give them a better understanding of the scope of operation of each one of those. That may open up their ideas then to what things that we can do working together. I think that would be a beginning point to deal with each of the government entities to begin with, and then come together, and once they understand how they operate, they may say, okay, well, we see now, we have a suggestion how you can work together. Once we understand now how you operate separately, and what your responsibilities are. That's just my suggestion, but...
So you are saying we better present to the separate bodies?
I think so, because I think the issues that's going to come before the county commission needs to be issues that the county commission can deal with that's in our scope, because there's a lot of issues that the city deals with that we have no authority or responsibility in. There's issues we deal with that's out of the scope of operation of the city. Because you see, the county commission only has the authority that the state legislature grants us. And a lot of times that authority that they grant us is negative. It's something they don't want to deal with. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Or it's an unfunded mandate.
Right. There was an issue, what was it we talked about in that meeting? Kelly, you remember there was an issue that they passed in the legislature? Oh, the puppy meals. And they're wanting county commissions to register puppy meals, right? And this presentation, so you understand where it's coming from, was from the Humane Society. And they're wanting each county commission to pass an ordinance to require registration of all puppy meals. And I don't know how you determine where the puppy meals are. And basically, a puppy meal is just a caged facility. There's not much room, and all they do is keep the dogs so they have more dogs and sell the dogs, and it's supposedly a lot of them are in humane conditions and stuff like that. And what they're saying is that most states have already passed laws that regulate puppy mills. So they're going to come to the states that don't have any regulation, and that's going to force more of them to come to West Virginia. And my question was, okay, so instead of the state legislature and dealing with it and say, okay, every county has to register puppy mills, they said it's up to each county whether you want to register them. So doesn't that create the same situation in the state that they're saying it creates in the nation? Because if some counties say we're not going to register them, that's the county that they're going to go to. So, I mean, but it's those type of situations that the state legislature, a lot of times, things they don't want to deal with, then they kick it down to the county level and say, okay, we'll pass it, but it's up to each county whether they want to implement it. We're not going to do it statewide. The difference between city government is the legislature has given city government a lot more authority for taxation, for regulation, for all this. So they actually have a lot more authority to do things and generate additional tax revenues that the county doesn't have. So I think if students understand the difference in the two up front, then they're going to come up with some better ideas of how we can work together, because they're going to understand the differences in what we can and can't do and have the authority and responsibilities to do.
One of the questions I have with what you're saying is, will the students be able and willing to take the time to go to both? I don't know the answer.
Well, that goes to the bigger question, which is, I think, survey after survey, we found that today's students and adults are disconnected from government.
Right.
They do not understand the institutions of government. Schools, high schools, and junior high schools are not preparing, in my opinion, students to take roles in civic life. If you talk to students that are high school graduates or attending high school, many do not know the elected officials that represent them in Congress. They do not know the governor. They do not even know the state officials, which could be a benefit for some of us. But that needs to be remedied, because if the people are disassociated and have no connection with their government, ultimately government will fail. Society will fail. So this is what you're recommending is a good step toward educating, if that's the proper word to use, our youth And through that, maybe adults as well will pay attention. I remember when I went to school, and that's been a good number of years ago, civics was a course you took. And to get out of college, you had to be able to pass a constitution test for the federal government and the state government. You had to understand those and pass tests indicating that you as a citizen knew the method of government that you operated under. That no longer is required in many places. I can talk to students, because I am interested in government history, obviously, and talking to students, including my granddaughter, who just graduated from high school. And she is better than average student, much better than average student. But yet, in questioning her and discussing these issues with her, she was woefully unprepared to answer some of the questions. So this is something that we, not just in Upshur County or McCann, but throughout the entire United States should be focusing on, because we have a generation or more of citizens who don't understand the responsibility of citizenship. They understand the benefits of being a citizen, but they surely do not have an understanding of responsibility. That's why when we have meetings in the courthouse here on Thursdays, we'll have 1 or 2 people who are regular attendees, but the general public will not appear unless there's one issue that they're interested in, but to attend on a weekly basis or to understand on a weekly basis what is happening doesn't happen. Of course, you have the benefit of the press, which is very important. But again, surveys will show national readership is down in newspapers. Very few people get their news from newspapers. A couple of generations ago, that was the main means by which people obtain news. Now, of course, you have 24-hour news coverage on cables, regular commercial television, but
Social media.
yeah, social media, and sometimes that's suspect. People believe anything they see on social media is true or accurate, and often many times it's not. So this is something that we as a society need to deal with. And I think what you're proposing is something that might very well be a step in the right direction.
Thank you very much.
And if the Board of Education is on board with this, then I think if students were allowed an opportunity to get out of class, come to commission meeting, on Thursday, say a Thursday, they were allowed to get out of class for a couple of hours to come. I think that would provide an incentive for them to be able to do
Just
it.
to get out of class.
To get out of class. Well, I think it would be like a field trip for them.
Yeah.
Instead of studying it, they could actually experience it. So, I mean, if there were half a dozen kids that were interested, that would certainly be a good beginning. And they could make it a project, and I don't know.
They have their youth and government
Right, and they have
organization, which goes with the state, so
Right.
it would be,
Right.
probably could be
So they could
incorporated
be,
into local government
Right,
as well. So I think Dr. Reed's wanting to know if you all are interested in joining with the city to participate in, I guess, is it also the joint meeting at some point? Plus we're meeting.
I'm open to your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I just think it would be more educational for the students if they would come to each meeting separately, understand how they operate. We could educate them a little bit, they could see firsthand. And then they could go back and say, okay, now we understand how the city operates different than the county. Now let's put our thoughts together and say, what could they do together now? But you have to know what to do separately in order to understand better what we can do better together. That's just my thought.
Betty, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Oh, I think it's a good idea. I do concur with Mr. Tenney. And I think the students should come here first to the city first and find out the county responsibilities and the city responsibilities, because there is a difference. And then I think they should meet with the city and county, because you never know where the next good idea is coming from. And being in the older generation, we may be looking over something that could be brought to us that would be very beneficial to the citizens of Upshur County, which we all would be for, city and county. My thoughts.
But at this point, my effort is at the level of the president and the superintendent. I'm sure that they're going to pass it off to somebody else, and my hope would be that we get whoever is going to work with it together from both college and high school and bounce ideas back and forth.
Well, Mrs. Cunningham would be the individual that
It would
would
be a
be
name
the
contact.
contact for the county commission.
Right.
Great.
But I think the overall concept's good, and, you know, whatever you work out would be great, because, you know, I think we're all in agreement that the more we can get youth involved, the better off the community will be.
Very good.
We applaud you for your efforts in this, and know that you'll spearhead it since gardening season's coming to an end. And you, all you now do is, you're doing now is picking tomatoes and corn.
And we do have some outstanding students here. And you've seen some of the students and the James Curry Scholarship. I know that I read over them over and over again. And it was unbelievable what some of these students did. You know what I mean? I was absolutely impressed. And it was very hard for me to make a decision on who got the James Curry Scholarship. But it is nice to know that we do have students out here that willing to give good ideas, take the time, because some of your better ideas will come from the youth who sees the future in a whole different picture than we do, in my opinion.
Do you all have other suggestions how it could be best developed?
I just think if you get all the interested parties together and sit down and get your ideas all together and work it out and see, I mean, I could see it as, like Kelly pointed out, there's already a group that could start. They could just sit down and have a brainstorming session and maybe do a little bit of education up front on what the city and the county does and what they can do and can't do and their authorities and whatnot, get a good understanding, and then start thinking of some ideas, and then just a group up and come to the county commission meeting and say, you know, we have a few suggestions and we would like to talk about them, and we'll certainly be able to talk about them, and that would be a good starting point.
Several years ago, the Rotary Club had of course they always normally have a career day at the high school, but they also went into a shadowing program where students would come and spend a day with someone they were interested in, occupation or career. For a day they would spend, you know, the banker, lawyer, doctor, someone just to kind of follow, or a tradesman of some type, you know, plumber, whatever. If something like that might be possible, where on occasion a student could spend a day with the county administrator and see the kind of things that they handle. We meet once a week, so it's unlikely that, you know, they could, other than during our weekly sessions, but in terms of actually understanding the role of government and what areas the county, for example, deals with, following either the assistant administrator or the administrator for a day. Select students, you couldn't do that every day, obviously, but maybe during a period of time you could have select students that, by their interest and by their academic performance or whatever the measure is decided, you know, by the school or whatever, could be assigned for a day to sit in and look at the various meetings, the boards, things like that. County commission members attend board meetings all week, evenings and during the day. So to that extent, they could accompany or at least attend a board meeting with the various organizations that contribute to the development and the vitality of Upshur County. And possibly the city often has representatives on the same boards as the county, so that they could get a cross-pollination as to what is the responsibility of government beyond just having a meeting on Tuesdays.
Would you all be willing for a student to tag you for a day with all
The board meetings themselves really last 2 or 3 hours, or depending on the day of the week. That I personally have no problems with that.
Well, most of those meetings are evenings, and, you know, if you're on 5 boards, one might be Monday night, and one might be next week on Tuesday, and one might be the next week on Wednesday. But I think that would be good if they wanted to, you know, go to a development authority meeting. Then they could go with whoever is on that board, or they wanted to go to the community corrections program. Then maybe we're interested in that area, they could go to the community corrections board. They can go, there are several different boards, and we could certainly supply those to those boards, and then students can look at those and meeting dates and say, I'd like to go to that board and just see what they do.
The only consideration would be on some of the boards, the information is sensitive, and that might, especially in community corrections or something like that, you might have.
They could go,
have
maybe, they might be a portion of it they couldn't go to where they discuss, but they can get an idea and understanding of how it functions.
Yeah, the meetings you are involved in are listed on the accounting agenda.
Right.
Farm preservation may have someone who's attending VOTEC that wants to be agricultural, to attend the farm preservation board to see what the county is doing. Buddy represents us on that board to see what we're doing to set aside land to maintain for agriculture and green space in the county. So,
some of the kids that are involved in VOAC and FFA, that would be something they might be interested in setting and learning more about that, because that's basically to preserve farmland so that, or you want to, so you, I don't know, explain it to you, but it basically is to preserve farmland, because across the nation, I've seen the statistics, and you might know them, but how many acres are being gobbled up every day for development. Once it goes from grass to concrete, it never goes back. It's kind of scary, really, but that's...
Thank you for initiating the discussion.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You have a good day, Doc.
Are you enjoying your visit with Father?
Oh, definitely. He's still gonna work.
Keep
the work out.
There you go.
Thank you.
Stay or you can
Appreciate
leave.
it.
Okay,
Any further comment?
we're ready to
If not,
pay bills, I think.
yeah, pay the bills.